was about ready to cry.
We are live at the moment. Let me make sure.
All right.
Good. It's okay. That happened before you were panicking.
That was not a
Rude.
dog sound. That was
Oh.
me hyperventilating.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Arf.
Arf. That's what I heard.
Oh yeah. So
There it is.
okay. So the 17th we're supposed to have Matt Man. The 1st is we're having Connor on.
Oh, okay.
Connor Howard,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
guy who sounds exactly like me.
you. Yes, yes. This will be an interesting
Oh,
one.
that's
for
going to
people.
be great for
audio
the
only.
audio only.
Yes.
Well, I pan the shit left and right, so one will be right and one will be left. So hopefully it won't be too bad.
We'll see. Okay.
Smooth move.
All right.
I think we're good. Let's go ahead and get going. Are we going to read the whole thing, or how are we going to handle the article?
I would say maybe just read things minus the quotes.
Can I let you do
I think
it?
a lot. Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Starting to record. All right. Let's have a good show.
Oh.
You good?
Good.
Okay, here we go. So there's a scary topic out there that most people are very afraid of when you even utter the word networking. Funny enough, networking is a very, very important part when you're starting out in voice acting, because it's those connections that may lead to opportunities when you least expect it. For example, is this podcast? I mentioned in the last show that somebody that we met and we interviewed recommended us for a particular video game. I'm talking about Dorino and I for Spearhead 1944. That wouldn't have happened had we not interviewed this person. That is a form of networking. I'm still seeing a lot of names that I was working with back when the very beginning of when I was doing stuff in Casting Call Club. It's because when you're going up, you're kind of in the same peer group. You're all starting out at the same time. You're all in the same pretty much position, and you grow fairly at the same level. So it's important to foster those relationships and maintain them, because you never know when something's going to help you out. So am I telling you to start a podcast in order to meet more people? Not exactly. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then by all means. But there are communities out there. Voice Acting Club, Arizona Voice Acting Guild. These are places where you can meet other people that are, going up at the same time you are. Again, a perfect form of networking. And if you're afraid of talking to people and meeting people, you may not be aiming for the right profession, because that's a big part of this work. You need to learn how to be able to talk to somebody and get your point across and sell yourself all at the same time. I've used the example of the plumber coming over and trying to fix something, and you get everything settled and the plumber says, all right, well, I'll give it a shot. That doesn't give you any confidence. Now, if he says, all right, no problem, then that completely gives you the confidence that it's going to get done. It works the exact same way in voice acting, but I digress. So build your confidence is what I'm saying, because it's going to help you as you go. And as I've mentioned time and time again, voice acting isn't about making silly voices or anything else. It's about getting an emotion across using your voice. So another way of doing like networking without it being online is joining a local acting or theater group. I'm part of one. I'm part of Looking Glass Theater in San Diego. We're in the middle of putting together a show. And even with that, I'm already seeing opportunities where I can do voiceovers for people that are putting together shows that I never knew that they were doing. And they didn't know what exactly I did. Now, I've had a lot of opportunities in this particular show to even showcase my talents, doing voiceovers, doing editing, doing all this other stuff that people are now coming to me going like, hey, can you do this for my number? So in a way, I've kind of advertised my talents. And now they know who to go to if they need a video. Or I'll bet you anything that if the group that they're with needs a voiceover for the beginning of the show or intermission or whatever, more than likely, they're going to come directly to me. One last thing I'm going to say, that if you do go the Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called, route, make sure you maintain professional. Don't mix personal tweets with voiceover tweets. You don't want to be throwing out your demo reel and then immediately go and do a tangent, because people will start ignoring your particular account if that's all that they see. As you grow, but you want to be remembered for your talent and the things that you've done in voice acting, and not the stupid tirade that you went because some guy cut you off in a drive-thru. Yeah, and you know what? That would annoy me too, but maybe consider making 2 accounts. I mean, make a professional one and then make your personal one. And you know what? You can keep those separate and it should be absolutely fine. So don't be scared of it. Practice, just like anything else, just like your acting, just like your voice talent. Networking is something that has to be practiced and not something to be completely feared. And you know what? We all suck at it at the beginning, but I guarantee you, you'll get better at it. All right, I've gone on long enough. Let's get the show started. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whichever one fits. Welcome to Colby the podcast by voice actors for voice actors. Real quick, just to say hello. Hi, Magmorta, and hello, Fire and Brimstone. Welcome to the chat. Appreciate you all being here.
Hi, folks.
Yeah, hello. If there's anything you want us to talk about, anything in particular, you can email us, colbythepodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want to join our Discord, you can come on in and enjoy the community. Fire and Brimstone gives us our daily memes, which we all absolutely appreciate. I see Dorino just smile at that. And then if you have any questions, anything you need to talk about, we do have a good network of people on there that are very helpful, and we could generally get you an answer for what you're looking for. But one of the main reasons that we have it is we'd love for you to upload your audio. We have a section for you to put that up there. We can give you some constructive feedback if you're working on a voice, if you're working on a demo, a character, anything to that effect. We'd love to hear it, and we'd love to get back to you as best as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Little programming note for those of you that can't see us. Renara is going to be taking some time off. We wish Renara the absolute best and can't wait for her to come back. But until then, we have Buka here. Hello, Buka.
Woo-hoo. Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since we've all sat down, so I'm excited to catch up with everybody.
Absolutely.
And say what's up.
Yes, looking forward to this. But yeah, so until then, Renara, we wish you the best, and we are here if you need to talk to us. So, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and check in with everybody. And Magmorta says hello to Buka. Magmorta plays games, also was active back in the Twitch Sings days.
Oh no.
Yeah. So let's check in and see how everybody's week has been. So let's check in with you, Buka. Buka, how has your week been?
It's been good. I started a new day job, which is forcing me to learn how to use Macs again, since I haven't used them since high school. Woof.
Yeah.
You're talking about like the Apple product, yeah?
Yeah, I've got they sent me a MacBook Air, and I can't remember the last, I swear, I think the last time I used a Mac laptop was like in high school. I don't even think it was a laptop back then. It was like those see-through Mac.
Yeah.
The monitors in one, the big blue. Oh god.
Exactly, that's the one.
I love those things.
I made many a silly movie using the software on those things back in the day. So many silly movies. Other than that, in the Arizona Voice Acting Guild front, we just got confirmation last week, 2 weeks ago, that we're going to be running panels at Sin City Anime for the first time.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. We're doing a panel that we haven't done in years, which is Anime Live, more specifically Anime Live After Dark. So for those who might not be familiar, Anime Live for our event, it's effectively a seiyuu concert. For the uninitiated, seiyuu is the Japanese term for voice actors. And seiyuu concerts are typically promotional events that companies will run to basically show off their actors, get hype for the show. If it's like an anniversary show, it's a way to gain more, ground, but it's really for the fans. So what happens is these voice actors will be on stage They might be dressed as their characters, but whether they are or aren't, they're standing up there and they're voice acting live. So you have on these big projectors behind them a full scene playing behind them, and they're acting their parts in time with the video. And it can get really weird and silly. Maybe they'll do an OVA of an previously unreleased episode, or they might do an episode over again with a completely alternate script.
Oh.
It can get very silly and fun. So AVAG is doing something similar. If you have ever seen like The Play That Goes Wrong or Peter Pan Goes Wrong, that's kind of the vibe that we're going with. So some of the stuff that we do is going to be just off the walls, going completely against the grain of a script, or we'll be doing a full episode of an anime that's otherwise considered mature. So it's going to be interesting. I have my work cut out for me because I feel like I only have 2 voices and I need to do 5 for this performance.
Oh no.
So I will be what is it? I will have to be practicing what I preach and figure out voices that I can sustain.
Yes.
That are going to be markedly different. Yeah.
Yeah, sustaining is absolutely important. It's because I mean, if you get tired in 5 minutes, then yeah, you're host for the rest of the time.
Yep.
So Sin City, I'm assuming this is going to be in Vegas, or
It is. It is a Vegas local anime and Japanese culture convention. I think they're at either year 5 or year 10. I forget. It's some sort of anniversary-ish year for them. And they moved venues, so they're going to be at the Gold Coast, which is a casino. But they have a whole conference wing. As far as like generally, it's considered frowned upon to do anime conventions in a casino because of your key demographic. A lot of them are under 18.
Yeah. Right.
But if you're going to do it at any casino, this is probably the one to do it at because they have like a bowling alley, they have an arcade, things that like are going to be a little bit cooler for the younger crowd. Still weird though.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I remember my mom used to take me to Vegas all the time, and it's like you're walking through the casino. It's like you gotta keep moving. You can't stop. Just constant motion, because if not, a guard will be on you like super fast. So,
Oh,
Yup.
yeah.
Cannot loiter on the casino floor if you are under 21. That's a big fat no-no.
Yeah.
Let me just say real fast, arcades are an underage form of gambling, so
Wow.
Not wrong. Not
it's
wrong.
true. It's 100% true.
Dorino, is that a hot topic by chance? I mean,
TM.
I mean, if you've ever visited the Pinball Hall of Pinball Hall of Fame, they will tell you point for point how arcade games are legal gambling.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you don't get anything back for it. You're just getting. Never mind. Okay. Well, before we go off on a tangent, let's go check in on Dorino. Dorino, how has your week been?
No, I want to fucking talk about gambling shit now. Let's do this. So let's see. My week, as I was venting to you all prior to the show, was not super great, and here's why. So I needed a computer upgrade. My computer, which is sitting right on the floor right behind me, and if you're not watching this episode on youtube.com/@coldread the podcast.
Hold on. There you go. Okay, now you can see
This,
it.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's right down here on the floor. Can't point my thumb in the correct area.
There you go. Put it back.
But in any case, so I needed a new computer. It's 10 years old, ish. And Meg, my wonderful fiance, was like, you know what, you've been wanting it for a while. You know, it's going to be useful anyways for work and all that shit. So just get it. We'll deal with the debt later. So ordered one off Best Buy for Labor Day, and it comes in on Wednesday, and I bring it home and immediately have issues with it. And specifically, it was just the USB ports that are on board, which are soldered to the motherboard of it. They just didn't work properly. It would constantly disconnect my devices every 10 to 15 seconds. And being an IT guy, I'm like, I can fix this. Well, after 2 days and much frustration and drinking, it didn't work in the end. And I even called the manufacturer and I was like, you know, here's the problem down to the T. Here's everything that I've tried that I could think of to try. You know, is this just going to have to be an RMA? And he's like, he checked on a couple things. He's like, yeah, to me it sounds like it's a motherboard issue, so you should probably just return it. So I did. So I went to Best Buy on Friday, like an hour before closing, and returned it. Got the money back on gift cards. And then I was like, let's check out the ones that are here, the pre-built machines that are here, see if I can find something that will fit. And if not, then I'll just order another one online. So, so I was kind of scoping around. I was staying away from AMD. Fuck you, AMD.
Jeez.
Shout out to my Intel homeboys. So I found two different machines that were like I considered getting. So I talked to this guy about it. I even asked him about the motherboard issue, and he's like, "No, I haven't heard of those issues specifically." But so I pointed out one. And I was like, I was looking at this one. He's like, "We got one in stock according to inventory, so let me go check on that." Comes back like 10 minutes later. He's like, "Sorry, dude, I don't have it. I don't know where it is." So I pointed at another one, and he's like, "Well, this one also says one in inventory, so I'll go check, and we'll see." And fortunately, it was there, but the box looked like shit, like it had been thrown out of the back of a truck. The barcode, in order to scan it to ring it up, also was like torn, so he couldn't scan it in. And he's like, "The only way I'm going to be able to scan this in is if I take the computer out." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine. We'll talk about an open box deal later." So yeah, after all that was said and done, he talked to his manager, and his manager's kind of being a bit of a stickler about it, which I get it. They're a corporation, like, can't just be handing out discounts all willy-nilly. So I didn't get my open box discount, unfortunately, but I have my new machine. I am still in the process of setting everything back up. But it is great. I can do a lot on it that I could not before. So super thrilled about that.
Good.
Otherwise, work, my regular day job was not super great. I did a bunch of auditions this week, actually.
Oh, nice.
I did like, what was it? It might have actually been last Sunday that I did it, and I didn't say anything because that might have been after podcast. Or I'm sorry, no, it was last Monday because we were off. I did like 16 auditions, just like boom, 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 which was super awesome. Like that was the most I've ever done in like one go. So, so I put all those in, discovered a couple of new voices that I didn't even know I could do.
Nice.
Such as the Southern twang kind of guy that sounds like he's been smoking too many cigarettes. And then lastly, I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling on, but lastly, I did mention last week that my fiance Meg was getting back into voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
And she did an audition, and she was asking my advice on it, and I said, like, this one part was like asking for a Valley girl, and she was like, she was sticking very like, kind of cookie cutter to the script, and I was like, if you guys have ever seen Schitt's Creek. There's a character in there that has a Valley accent, and her character is fucking hilarious. But I was like, do that character and just add the word "like" in as much as you can, and I guarantee you will get this part. Email comes in yesterday, and she got it. So she has officially been cast for her first paid voice acting role.
Ooh.
So I'm super, super proud of her, super happy for her. And I can't wait to see what more she can do.
Nice. I'm going to move your camera again because this is really messing me up. So for those of you that are watching, this is going to be weird. There we go. I'm putting you back in the same way. I realized you had Renara's cam, I guess.
Renara's. You're taking a page out of my book. Anyways, Moody, tell us about your weekend. Please stop me from talking.
Oh, well, damn it. I had one more thing I wanted to ask, but that's fine.
Go ahead.
Where did the audition for Meg come from?
CCC.
Nice. Okay, cool.
She also has backstage like me, but obviously, you know the whole story behind pay to plays. You got to submit like a billion auditions before you even get one. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trust me, I know.
Yeah. So either way, super happy for her.
My week's kind of shitty. I mean, I won't lie. So even after having the Monday off, it was still my first 4 days in a row going back to work. I'm still super fatigued from post-COVID crap. And on Friday, as I was driving in, my car decided to overheat as I'm driving up, and
Oh
it's
God.
like an hour before I have to get into work, and I'm 18 miles away. So kind of like hoof it to the gas station, check to see if it's a water issue. Doesn't work out. So I kind of like hoof it to the nearest trolley station, and I trolley to work. And my car is not in that station anymore. I was able to that night go back and move it before it started overheating again. And I think it's the water pump, the way that it's asking. It's
No.
and it's not that big hard of a fix. It's just in my particular car, it's like under a pulley, and yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the butt to do. But between me and my daughter, I think we're gonna give it a shot and try to resurrect.
Oh, you're gonna do it yourself?
Yeah. Because my wife's like, okay, you know what? The car needs tires. The car needs this. The car needs that. Just go ahead and get get another car. And I'm like, I don't want a car payment right now. I'm still, I just don't want that on top of me for so long.
Right.
So the part's $80. I can borrow some tools. We'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. And if not, then we'll go from there.
All right.
Yeah. It's just my luck. So one thing happens, another one. Otherwise, work was fine. It's tough being because I'm the customer service guy for people that are at very bad position. They're asking for homeless assistance, and tempers run high, and unfortunately, it's hard to be the punching bag. So it
Right.
physically takes a role. And honestly, I get home and I pretty much pass out. Like Saturday, I was asleep like all day. I woke up for a second, ate, and then passed out for like 6 hours. So
Oh,
it's
good
just
Lord.
it's just that fatigue that always hits you. It's all this stuff. So I'm gonna get back into the whole voice acting thing here soon. It's just for now I'm kind of I've got to get everything else set up before I get there and starting to feel better. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, there was my shitty week, and thank you, Meg Morta, for because car stuff does suck.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into some of these topics that we got. So, Dorino, you found an interesting article out there that we want to talk about.
Yeah. I hope you guys are really missing us talking about the SAG-AFTRA strike, because we're back to talk about it yet again. Because they have, as of the 1st, they have voted unanimously, the board anyways, has voted unanimously to ask its members to vote on another strike that will affect particular video game production companies. And again, this is more if they're going to be meeting at the end of the month, and so they are basically just kind of preparing in case they don't get what they are looking for, essentially. So I have an article pulled up here, and I'm gonna kind of read it verbatim. So yeah, one sec here. Okay. You guys have the article pulled up as well?
Yep.
Okay. So the article says, SAG-AFTRA's national board has voted unanimously to send a strike authorization vote to SAG-AFTRA members in preparation for the union's forthcoming bargaining dates with signatory video game companies, which includes Activision, Blindlight, Disney, Electronic Arts, Epic, Formosa, Insomniac, Take-Two, VoiceWorks Productions, and WB Games. So,
Wow.
pretty big name companies for sure. And I can't really say anything on the fact because obviously I've never worked with any of these companies. But given how they produce their games and the kind of mess that they tend to put their other employees through, like their actual designers, 3D modelers, and audio people, it doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't.
No, there's some big umbrellas here. Activision, Disney, EA, Epic, WB. Those are just crazy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and
Basically all the big names.
Yeah.
right. And I've had a hand in the video game production company before, as in I've been able to see it firsthand, and yeah, it's not even on the lesser end, the more, I guess you would call it, indie studios. Some of those are even really terrible to their workers. So again, does not surprise me that names like Activision, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, I'm really not surprised to hear that. In any case, the article continues with, it has been nearly a year since SAG-AFTRA's video game contract, the Interactive Media Agreement, was extended beyond the original expiration date as we negotiated with the companies for critical terms SAG-AFTRA members need. Unfortunately, throughout the negotiations, the companies have failed to address those needs. For this reason, the negotiating committee and national board unanimously agreed that the union should have a member-approved strike authorization in hand when bargaining resumes on September 26th. So basically, what's going to happen is the vote is going to happen. I think it wraps up here at the end of this week or maybe next week. And basically, all of the union members are going to vote whether they should strike against these companies if the companies don't give in to what SAG, I shouldn't say give in, but if terms are not met. Now, that is not to say that a strike will happen. This is just simply saying is everyone on board to be prepared to strike should this happen. That's the whole point of the vote. So again, it's not to say that, yes, there will be a strike or no, there will not be a strike. It is simply, should we do this if things don't go as planned? So and as it said in that paragraph there, again, they're past their contract date. They're going to approach these companies again on the 26th to see if they are willing to, discuss revisions to their contract, which would include, where is that note here? So a few things they want to negotiate. Number one being protection against replacement, essentially, by AI, because AI is
huge
just
topic now.
Fucking out of control.
Yep.
Like, did nobody watch The Terminator? Like, James Cameron fucking was talking about this shit like decades ago. Come on, guys. In any case, so yeah, AI protection, number one. Number two, wage increases, mostly for inflation. And they're seeking 11% retroactive to expiration. So basically, they want compensation for the money that they didn't make in the past year, and then an additional 4% increase for the second and third year of the agreement. And again, that is more just to help with inflation, because obviously prices rise every year, and this is a very common thing for companies to do all the time. So, yeah. So thoughts on that?
Well, and it's interesting because this is when it comes to video game and everything else, you are creating a copy of somebody else that can be used, and that's the protection that they're looking for as well. I mean, this talks about stunt people having to do all of those stunts and everything else, and then that's digitally captured and then potentially used somewhere else. And this is the protection that's really important to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand.
Right.
Yeah, because this people need to be able to make a living. You've got so many people again in SAG-AFTRA that can't even afford the medical coverage because they don't get enough work or make enough money for it. And this is what people are fighting for. And I'm happy to see it's just these changes need to happen, and it's not going to happen unless there's some conflict. And it's funny because we automatically go, well, the actors are the good guys, and and the companies are the bad guys. And everybody's just watching out for each other. That's be careful on how you paint that picture.
That's true. Yeah. Buka, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so when you guys brought the topic up, I was like, okay, let me do a deep dive because I have questions. And what I found interesting was, and forgive me if you guys have covered this before, in 2017, they had negotiations before, and what I noticed is a lot of the topics that happened in 2017 didn't even get covered and are still, in a fight for now. So, back in 2017, there were issues with role transparency. Cool. We got some moves forward there. But then when you talk about safety for voice and stunts, nothing was addressed. So they're still
Right.
having a problem now with protecting people's vocal cords, those who have had to get surgery to, counteract the suffering they ended up going through. And we talk about stunts, like nothing was done to protect them there. And even now in the new negotiations, they're asking for less than the bare minimum, which is like, can we have medics on staff when we have to do all this crazy stuff? They don't
Yeah.
have like there's no consistency when it comes to stunt coordination, and any sort of training. You have folks, I'm a voice actor. Why am I being yanked around by, by cords and cranes? Like this is next level.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, and even when we talk about secondary compensation, so in movies you might call it residuals. In the case of video games, you're looking more at profit sharing. Trying to push to where if a company's making over 2 million on a video game, the benefits should trickle down to the folks who made the game, who were programmers, who were voice actors, who were physical actors dealing with the motion capture. There's so much that like they asked for less than the bare minimum and it's still not being covered. So I would be shocked if they don't end up on a full strike by the end of month.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I would like that, I don't want that either. Like, I really I have a little bit of faith that these companies will at least consider the negotiations, because I mean, really, why? This is something that has always bothered me when it comes to the creative or artistic field, is like people don't see them as actual jobs. They don't see entertainment as a job. It's just a hobby that gets paid for.
Right.
So why are we choosing to treat them lesser, or like less than, other things? And yeah, as you were saying, Buka, like, it says also in this article, they are also looking for they're also looking for a 5-minute period per hour, of rest for on-camera actors. Like, you're really pushing these people for, longer than an hour without even giving them a moment's rest. Like, that's really sad. And don't get me wrong, like, I know that there's certainly people out there that are just like, I just want to get it done. I don't care what I do to my body. I'm just gonna keep
Right.
going and going and going, and it'll turn out great. I myself am stubborn in that way. Like, as I was just saying, that 16 auditions in a row, I could have easily stopped myself and stepped out of the booth for 5 to 10 minutes to take a rest, but I didn't. I mean, I think I did once, but that was mostly just because, like, I was drenched in sweat, so I needed to get out and then cool myself down before I, like, passed out from overheating. But um yeah, like, it's just crazy. And as you said as well, Buka, like, as a medic on site to help with, stunts and other things like that. And I know well, maybe not a whole lot of people know this, but yeah, some voice actors actually do, like, just mocap.
Hmm.
So yeah, they are, moving around. They may have to do their own stunts in certain cases, and obviously that can be harmful to people who are not prepared. Fortunately, these days I don't feel like that is, as common. Like, oh my god, what would be a good example? Like, who's the actor that does the voice for Smeagol in Lord of the Rings?
Oh, it's funny. I have to look this up so much.
I know. I feel so bad. Andy Serkis.
Yes.
So Andy Serkis, did the mocap for Smeagol back in the original, Lord of the Rings trilogy, and maybe not all of the same stunts, but like, he was on the ground crawling around and jumping and whatnot. Not only that, but this guy has also done voices for, like, Planet of the Apes, and it's the same thing. You have to be on all fours. You're walking around like a gorilla.
Hmm.
Like, that stuff can stress your body out. Like, especially at his age. I think in, the original trilogy, he was probably, like, pushing 50. I want to say maybe 45. So, like, his body's starting to kind of deteriorate a little bit, and he was still expected to do all of that work. Like, that to me is absolutely insane that there's basically no protection for that. And don't get me wrong, I think he was in SAG-AFTRA at that point, but still, like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the entire system needs to change. We need to revolt.
Well, that's what a strike is. It's just
Yeah, right. Like I said, though, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, it was just when I was doing the research, I was so shocked that the same, practices and precautions that are there for, physical actors aren't there for voice actors or for video game actors who, like I said, they get roped into being on a stage,
Yeah.
and that's not, like, because of whatever loopholes, it's not protected in the same way. That's just blew my mind.
And yet we all want to be part of that profession. So
Yeah, right.
Of course.
It
And it's
doesn't
fun.
stop us.
Like Anthony had said a few weeks ago, like, voice acting is the most fun job you can have with your clothes on. Super.
God damn it.
Look, I'm quoting. I didn't say that myself. That was Anthony. No, but seriously, like, yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to keep, I guess, dragging on, but like, I love being an artist. I love being creative. I love all of it. I love making music and voice acting and doing this and that. Like, it's great, and it's a real job, guys. It's a real job. We're in 2023. Artistry is a real job. Please get it through your thick skulls.
Andy Serkis is currently 59, by the way. So, what were the Lord of the Rings movies?
Oh, okay, so he would have been in his 40s then.
His 40s, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so like 45, right around. So I think the Planet of the Apes, he was probably young 50s, I want to say, for like the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
The Rise, yeah, 2011 for Rise, so that was about 12 years ago. 2017 for the last one, which was War, for the Planet of the Apes. So it's still fairly recent, but still, I mean, for 59, my goodness, good on him for still moving around like that. And you know what? And the other thing to think about is the Smeagol voice in itself. There's a reason why that Smeagol juice is running around, is because he took a beating on that voice, and he had to come up with so many remedies. And hopefully with more rests and everything else, it probably wouldn't have been so bad for the poor guy. But yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, voice actors tend to be looked at second-class citizen actors type of situation when it comes to all this. And then hopefully, yeah, this all helps to put us at the same level.
Yeah, I really hope so. Just to finish off this article here, so aside from the medic, being on set, just like film or television, there would also be a prohibition set in place against stunts for self-taped auditions. So, like somebody asks you to fall down on the floor and convulse as if you're having a seizure or something like that. Like, nope, that's not happening. And lastly, and possibly the most important one, vocal stress protections.
There it is.
So, like, and as someone who constantly has to keep their voice in check because they do a lot of voices that are a little hard to do or harsh to the throat. Oh my God, am I happy to see that?
Let's call them vocal stunts. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, vocal stunts, yeah. Like even the twang kind of rasp thing, like,
yeah.
Like, I can do that pretty reliably, but an hour of just doing that without any rest, like, that's gonna fucking kill me. So, yeah, I'm super happy that is in there because it's necessary. Like, just like singing, you have to protect your voice. Your voice is your instrument in this case, and those protections absolutely need to be in place.
Sorry for getting to this late, but Fire says Return of the King is 20 years old. Thank you for pointing that out. And
all right. Well, I'm gonna go eat my bag of Werther's Originals and go to bed at 4 p.m. See you guys.
It's like a couple times a month. I feel my age whenever somebody brings something up.
Right.
Thank you for that. But yeah, so the cards are out. The voting, I think, stops in the 25th.
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see something come out of this. I know they're going to have some meetings here soon in regards to it. So I'm sure more news will come out and we'll be around if there's anything else interesting. But Dorino, thanks for bringing this one up.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say lastly, real quick, to those listening or watching us, please be aware that more than likely if they decide to strike, the same rules are going to apply as the film and television strike have, where if you choose to work with the companies that are stricken, you will not be eligible for SAG-AFTRA membership. So please keep that in mind. I would be very surprised, very hard pressed if anybody is working with EA or Epic Games or WB Games and they listen to this podcast. But just keep that in mind that you could potentially ruin your membership chances by working with these companies going forward, provided that the strike happens.
Yeah.
And I think from a more social perspective is even if like you have no vision or no future of saying, yeah, I definitely want to join SAG-AFTRA, we still look at it as a way of you don't want to cross the picket lines regardless. Have fun with all those indie projects, but if you can manage it, stay away from these from Activision, EA, Disney, Take-Two, what is it, WB, Insomniac.
Yeah.
Yep. All of the biggest names. And when I was doing my research too, I was like, wait, where are the rest of because I'm way far away from from current knowledge as far as video games are concerned. I was like, what happened to Blizzard and Minecraft? Oh, they're all Activision now.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep. Everything is Activision.
Everything is Disney or Activision or EA. Yeah, it's pretty large. And one thing to keep in mind too is that you got to see where the source is coming from if you're going to pick up a job, because it could be an umbrella of these companies that's being subcontracted down. And it's not they're trying to be sneaky. I mean, they have to send all these stuff out to other people for them to be able to get it produced. It's just keep in mind, just be careful. We don't want to be scabs, because this is potentially something you want to be in the future.
Right. Yeah, I gotta say too, I just saw on LinkedIn probably like 3 weeks ago, I want to say, there was an open position for a senior voice artist for Electronic Arts. And I was like, man, I wish I could apply for that, but my experience doesn't add up to that. And well, I'm glad that I didn't. Yes, yeah, Fire. Mojang now is owned by Activision because money.
Because money, yeah. They were Microsoft for the longest, and now I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Microsoft, I think.
Oh yeah, I wonder if Microsoft
is Activision.
See, and it's just all of these little threads that you just don't know where it all goes to. So you got to be very careful.
Do your research, folks.
Do your research.
Clearly, like we do.
Shut up. Okay, so we wanted to talk about Casting Call Club. There was a Reddit post recently that talks about Casting Call Club for Beginners. This post is by Mr. Lolo200. I'm going to read that out real quick. I've never actually looked at it until recently and was amazed to see dozens of paid projects with no submissions or few submissions. As a total beginner, is it a good way to sharpen your teeth? I've heard very mixed opinions on beginner demos and DIY demos, but overall it seems like the consensus is that auditioning for anything you can get your hands on is great practice. This seems like the perfect place to do it. But do you guys think it would be best to have a small DIY demo? Would that elevate chances of success outside of just auditioning itself on CCC? What are your general thoughts for CCC for beginners anyway? I'm mainly thinking about this as a great opportunity to practice and work at the same time, and thus approach it with no expectations of trying to make any kind of real money off it. What's your experience with CCC like? Okay. I started with CCC 3.5 years ago, I think. My first role landed me, it was a volunteer role. But I had done a ton of auditions, and that really did help me to figure out the room tones, figure out. I mean, I've played my first audition so many times, and been roasted for it so many times. That I think that yes, the more that you put on there, the more experience that you get. Thoughts on that, anybody?
Buka, would you like to go?
I mean, I've only done like I'm gonna say a handful of auditions. All of them were through Casting Call Club. And for me, if nothing else, it helped me figure out what voices I have and can maintain. Um, so for me, that was a huge benefit. Even though I didn't, I landed almost one gig. They canceled the project.
Ah,
Um,
yes.
but that one would have been fun because I was gonna play a weird little 8-year-old who is very angry all the time. Like,
Yes.
and it helped me figure out that I have that voice.
You have the little
And
boy voice.
yes, the
Yep.
little boy voice who I named Bean in my head. It's just that is what
Nice.
I call it, the Bean voice.
It's a good way to keep track of
It
them.
all Yep, it also made me the one I called mom because my sort of normal voice has been characterized as very matronly. So that's makes it easy to play like mature roles that are moms and people who care for you and stuff like that. Um, so for me, it made that easy.
Yeah.
Still trying to nail down something in between. But that's where it can get really fun, where it's like these things that you can do for fun that are inconsequential and give you a really what do you call it? It's basically a really strict structure to be like, okay, I want to make this happen. How do I do that vocally?
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So let me just cut to the chase here. Yes, Casting Call Club or any form of being able to submit auditions is good for beginners. As long as you improve, like day after day. If you're stagnant, if you're not learning anything, if you um, you know, if you don't listen to stuff like us, telling you, hey, here's what you should do to get into voice acting, like, then no, it's not going to be good because you're not doing anything with it. You're not growing as an artist. Now, I'm not entirely certain as to where you're going with the demos thing, like beginner and DIY demos. I'm not really sure how that correlates. I will say you don't need a demo to sign up for the site, to submit auditions. None of us started off with a demo, and it's not something you should ever start off with anyways, because a demo is a showcase of your ability, and you should do it once you have experience under your belt. Like, if you don't have any experience, there's nothing to showcase.
Right.
Now, my personal thoughts on CCC, I have had moderate success with it. I actually just pulled up the stuff I've been cast for. So the first one that I got cast for did not go anywhere after like one script. I don't think that one was even produced in any way. The next one was for a comic dub. That went absolutely nowhere, which is really sad because it was Scott Pilgrim themed.
Aw.
And the third one was for an audio drama, which uh, this has nothing to do with CCC, obviously. But the content that I was recording, while it wasn't necessarily my parts, the content was very awkward and uncomfortable. I did not know this going into this project, but that's nothing to do with Casting Call Club. So that's just the project creators. But regardless, it was a good role. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I also did a student project, which was great. Person was really easy to work with, no problems. And the last one was with a Mr. Matt Man for a Hotline Miami fan dub, which I love working with that guy. He's super fun, and I really enjoyed myself. So that's all the good stuff. The only really bad thing I've had with CCC, aside from the fact that there's no way to like report posts, is the journey of the audio drama from hell thing that I talked about a couple of months ago, that I'm not going to get into right now. But So yeah, all in all, yes, Casting Call Club is a great place for beginners. It is a very easily accessible site to find work, whether it be paid or unpaid. But you should certainly go into it with certain expectations. Know that not every project you're going to work on is going to be successful or come out. Not every project you're going to work on is going to be fun or easygoing. I have worked with people who I will never work with again because they make my life a living hell. Um, so you're working with people who are starting personal projects. They're not like bigger companies and whatnot. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you do come across an indie company who is very passionate about their project, and they want good voice actors, really hardworking voice actors, to be attached to this project. So, yeah, yeah. Either way, just put your voice out there.
Yeah. I mean, and this is a good way because you're going to learn these communications and everything else, and you have to keep in mind that these roles, 90% of them may not complete. It's just part of the process because this isn't a job that's going to pay or anything to that effect. This is somebody doing it as a hobby, and real life gets in the way. And sometimes you've got people that don't know how to wrangle people together or get stuff off the road. So even though you may be casting something, it may not go anywhere. But you have that experience and you have that audition that you put in, and you beat out all the other peoples that put in for that role. So feel good about the little victories that you've gotten, thus far. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the one because Torino inspired me to take a peek at what's on there, and as I'm looking down my list, and like 80% of them didn't go anywhere, and
Right.
that's just how it happens. Be aware of what you're signing up for, because like Dorino said, there are some projects that can go in an uncomfortable role, and if it wasn't clear from the first place, don't be afraid to say, hey, I don't want to do this stuff, so I'm gonna
Yes.
step away, because don't feel pressured to do it, because these things, everything you put out can follow you.
Mhm.
So it's super important. I've always said it, be careful of what you accept, because you never know when you're going to hear it down the road.
Exactly.
Yep. Any final thoughts, anybody?
No.
Cool. We had a last one, right?
Yeah. So this topic, also from the voice acting Reddit, is titled "How do you deal with gain when the lines require you to be both loud and quiet?" Um, the poster, Mr. Mitt, I'm just gonna say Mr. MIH, says an amateur question, but one I can't figure out. How do you work with the gain settings on an audio interface when you have to record lines that go from normal talk to very sudden, gut-wrenching screams? I keep trying to set it up for the highs, or rather the screams, so that it doesn't cut it. I'm not sure what that means,
Oh,
but then of
okay.
course the rest feels too quiet. I think by cut they meant like peak.
Yeah, it could be peak, or there is some software that like cuts off the recording. Like I know in Discord, for example, if a person
No.
gets too loud, they just completely get cut off. So
Mm,
maybe it's something, it's not a limiter thing. It's more
be like a noise suppression thing, I
yeah,
feel.
yeah.
Although I hope they're not using that on a regular basis. That'd be really strange. Um, I'll let you guys go first because as the audio engineer of the group, I have thoughts.
Um, I talked first last time. Buka, any thoughts?
So
Surprise.
so this is something I am actively learning as I go. With AVAG, I have become their assistant ADR director.
Oh,
So during our workshops, I'm handling the recording. Once folks we'll pick a scene, folks will practice their lines, they'll come up and we'll do a recording. And for the sake of time, rather than doing a line by line, we do one continuous take. So with that comes the complication of if there's really quiet lines followed by really loud lines, I will tackle it one of two ways. One is simply, dancing with the mic, dealing with your distance from the microphone. When you're doing something really quiet and you need to be conspiratory, you get real close to the mic. And then when you need to be loud and boisterous, you get back the heck up. But the problem with that, you're kind of trading off sound quality in that way. If you get too far away from the mic, things sound tinny, it sounds echoey. You don't want that. So then
Yes.
I'm literally and figuratively balancing to where I'll have people practice their loudest line and I will adjust the gain for that specific line. But for the most part, you want to be in a sweet spot where you don't have to do that. I am aware that there is software you can use to deal with compression live. I don't have that yet, and I don't know how to use it. So the only perspective I have is when you're using very basic technology and how to get around it.
Yes. Cool.
All right.
I do have some of that software, and I do tend to do it all in one take. I also do facing away from the mic if I'm yelling or backing up way far. But also once I get into the software, I do kind of tone it down, and thankfully Audition, if it does peak, I can recover that line and then push down on the level. So I'm more, I guess, of a software user when it comes to gain. I don't adjust my mic settings once it's there. I just keep it universally through the whole recording, because I feel like that can change not only how, because we're all voice actors, and especially like right now I'm playing Baldur's Gate. I can hear the pickups and I can hear the changes in mics, and I think that's just something that gets tuned in your ear as you go, and I hate it. I absolutely dislike it. Even when I'm listening to audiobooks on Audacity, not Audacity. Crap, I forgot the name. No. Audible. Thank you. Jeepers. So I can hear when people are doing that, especially because these books are churned out so quickly. There's those discrepancies, and I hate them. I absolutely dislike them. So, like I said, I'll keep my mic the same way. I'll keep it at the same gain. I've already got it set up, and it's a separate microphone that's inside the booth behind me than the one that's right here, specifically for that reason. So I don't have to mess with it.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So here's the skinny. Do not, under any circumstances, touch that fucking gain knob when you are recording. Ever. You set it and then you forget it, just like auditions. And the reason I say that is because your audio quality will differentiate. The shitty, I guess, circumstances. Yes, there are some things in which you have to be very close to the mic and you have to be very quiet. And then other times you have to be extremely loud. Now, when it comes to yelling, which I am super good at, if you couldn't tell.
Not to toot your own, not to yell your own horn. I mean,
exactly. When it comes to yelling, backing away from the mic, yes, important. However, yelling at an angle is the most important thing that you can do. And the reason is because you have, like, for those listening and not seeing us, I'm drawing a circle in front of my microphone. Condenser mics pick up this range in front of your microphone. So if you are yelling directly into it, all of your audio is just going to be blasting this mic, right? And in a case in which you're just, speaking normally or whispering, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But once you start, overloading that mic, that's where the problem is. And even by backing up, you are still trying to speak directly into the mic, which will cause complications. But by going off to the side, you are still picking up the full quality of your voice without the audio going directly into the microphone. Please utilize this anytime you have yelling parts. Secondly, and this is not for the voice actor, this is more for the audio engineers. I see someone actually commented on here and just said compression. Yes, compression is going to help, but don't. The voice actor is not responsible for adding audio effects. Simply put, like unless you ask them to, unless that's part of their responsibility, then that's fine. Yes, you should compress your audio. Not a whole lot, but enough so that, yelling isn't too loud, whispering isn't too quiet. And to the person that said compression followed by normalization, shut up. You're wrong. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Do not normalize, because normalization is basically extreme compression. And for voice acting, that's not something you do. You do that for music and you do that for podcasting. You do not do that for voice acting. Yeah, so that's it basically.
Cool.
When you have to shout, angle yourself, and if you are responsible for your own audio, use a little bit of compression. I recommend like 3-to-1 ratio maybe, and obviously just kind of play with the threshold, lower it until you find a good balance between the shouting and the whispering parts, and then you're good to go.
Well, there you go. Buka, I saw you kind of came up close to the camera when Dorino was explaining this. You got any good notes out of?
Well, so
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
it...
like drag you through the mud about like
no,
game
no, no,
comments.
I absolutely am glad you did, because I literally was like, okay, I'm taking notes now, because we have a workshop on Monday,
Yeah,
and the dichotomy of the performance is going to absolutely f me up trying to get everybody's vocals down without having to do 2 different takes. But now I'm going to be testing some theories, because right now already I do a lot of configuration during the recordings, because I use 2 different microphones. I have an MXL 990 and I have an AT 2035.
okay.
I have learned over time what voices are great for each microphone. So if you're a soft-spoken person, if you have a very high-pitched voice, MXL 990 is great for you. If you are a boisterous human that doesn't have volume control, you want the AT 2035, because that has a much forgiving range before it'll peak the mic. MXL, on the other hand, it's very sensitive. So you're going to peak that mic like nobody's business very easily. So I'm already using the hardware to work to my advantage, depending on who's up at the mic. But now, normally we just have people back the heck up. But no matter how far somebody backs up, I have folks who just volume is in their DNA. So I am going to be very curious to test out this theory on Monday while we're doing recordings. Because if you're familiar with Yu Yu Hakusho, trying to play as Yusuke Urameshi, sometimes he's really grumbly and talks like this. He has 2 modes. He's grumbly and moody like this, and then he's screaming at everyone. So that's the character that a lot of folks are going to be practicing with on Monday.
I love
and I need to be able to work with that.
Yeah. I will say, just I guess a small little tidbit when it comes to setting up to record. What I recommend is, if you have your interface next to you, like in the booth, this will be a lot better. But basically, do the same thing. Angle yourself off axis of your mic, and then yell as loud as you possibly can, or as loud as you think you're going to get, and then turn that gain down until it no longer shows yellow or red. If you can yell at your almost full volume and you're only hitting green, that is the sweet spot. You want to be just under where it's going to hit yellow, because in that way, when you do have to whisper, you'll still pick that up without a problem. And then when you need to yell, it's not going to cause any undue peaking. Now, and of course, this may differentiate depending on your recording environment. I know for myself, I actually have to kind of tweak it a little bit under sometimes where I normally put it. But that's solely because I'm in a smaller room, and I've tried to get as much reverb out of this room as possible, but it still happens when I do certain yelling lines. So there are some times in which I do get some peaks or I do get some reverb. Unfortunately, just because of my circumstance, that's just unavoidable. And so, it is what it is. But yeah, that's just general, guidelines.
Cool. Well, hopefully that helps more than Buka. I love to hear what comes out of your experiments, Buka. But we'll have to save that for absolutely next time. Just an FYI, there's a potential that we may not be live for next week. We will still try to get the show up as a possibility, but technical issues and everything else unfortunately happens. I've got my show, and time is very difficult. So we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can put out, and we'll go from there. We'll talk about the intro, because we're gonna have to figure that out too.
Oh, I have it.
Okay.
I am taking 2 intros in a row, and our good friend Buka has disappeared. Unfortunate. But yes, next intro will be moi.
Okay. If you have any questions and things you want us to talk about, please feel free to email us, coldbreathepodcast@gmail.com, or join our Discord. Link is in the description, so come on over and join us there. If you have any audio, anything you're working on, please go ahead and send it to us. We'd love to take a peek, take a listen, and give you constructive feedback. Not like what Dorino just did to the poor compression person. We'll actually do some actual, constructive feedback.
What was wrong with that? Just because I swear a lot.
Oh, there we go. We just switch roles.
I'll fix it in post. No worries.
All right, no problem. But yeah, so thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all being here, and we will catch you all next time. Big shout out to Meg. Big shout out to Meg Moore, to Fire and Brimstone. All of you for being in the chat. We will see you next time around. Catch you later.
Bye-bye. And remember to drink your water.
Bye.
Bye. All right, recording is down. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much again. We'll catch you all later. We're going to stop the stream. Bye.
Bye, chat. Thanks for being here.